Hi everyone, I'm so excited. Do you want to know why I'm so excited? Because we're going to talk about the Avengers! Good space. We're in a good space. I like this space. I'm a Kendall Richardson. This is the latest episode of Non-Scripted Ramblings. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining me. This is it. We've reached the end of phase 1. We're here. It's over. Oh my word. I love this movie. The Avengers it just... I don't even know how long this video is going to be, so I'm going to try my best to keep it under 25 minutes. We'll try. I can't guarantee you anything, so just strap in, sit down, just put your feet up. We're going to get comfortable. We're going to talk about this movie right here. This movie. So good. Okay, alright, so I watched the trailer. Pretty fine. I think the only thing missing from this trailer is that score, because the Avengers score by Alan Silvestri, I think, is the composer who came up with it, or Dave Jordan, one of the two. They both kind of work in conjunction with each other, I guess. Whoever came up with that, though, it's such a good score, and it's one of the best things in this movie as well. It just really gets you gets you hyped. I said pumped and hyped at the same time, and it came out very wrong, so I apologise for that. Woo, someone's excited. Anyway, yeah, so that's probably the only thing that's missing. I mean, it's cool that they use the rock music to be like selling the, the badassery, the hip thing of this movie, like superheroes kicking ass. The rock music's worked well for Iron Man in the past. Why the hell not use it again in this trailer? Totally fine. It works, it's good, and it sells the movie. One of my favourite things in this trailer, though, I mean, I love the fact that it starts with Loki's voiceover, and that's really, really cool. I love that. But my favourite thing is we get the line that Nick Fury says there was an idea to bring together a group of people to see if they could become something more, so they could fight the battles that we never could. That I probably screwed that up a little bit. I don't know, maybe I got it almost right, but you know what I'm saying. That line, that is so synonymous now with everything that these movies stand for, and the Avengers in particular, and because it was used in such a wonderful way in the Infinity War teaser trailer, like Nick Fury starting it off, and then each character, while they're appearing on screen, they do a voiceover, and it's them talking, and it's just incredible stuff. I loved it. So the trailer, fine trailer, gets you hyped. It's good. Okay, the movie. Let's talk about the movie. So, it is co-written and directed by one of my favourite creators of all time, Joss Whedon. I love him. I'm a big Buffy fan, a big Angel, Firefly, Dollhouse. I love him. He is, specifically, he writes to delight me, really. Like, I get him and he gets me. We go way back. Sure. No, we don't. It'd be cool if we did. I could use some writing help. But, I love Joss, and the fact that he got to do this movie, it's incredible. He'd never really done a big budget film like this before, ever. He was a TV guy, but for some reason, Marvel and Kevin Feige put their trust in him, and by God did it pay off wonderfully. This is peak Whedon. It really is. This is the best thing he's done since Buffy was the Avengers, hands down. It's just wonderful stuff. I don't even know where to start. Like, it's just such a great movie coming together, these characters we've had 5 movies of getting to know them, figuring out who they are, where they stand, and then just, the idea of putting them all in the same movie together is just crazy. It was this was the first movie of its kind, really, a big superhero team-up movie with all the big names. Like, it wasn't like some small-time thing. They actually pulled all these huge money-making stars in the same movie, and it worked, and the screen time was divided up well. You know, no one was left, you weren't felt left wanting with any character. They were all treated with respect and written beautifully, performed beautifully, and the story is just, it's tight, it's so well done. I'm having trouble finding words because it's just so beautifully perfect, really. I love it. Okay, God, I really don't even know where to start. I'm just gonna get the Tom Hiddleston stuff out of the way first because I'm wearing Loki t-shirt. Because, you know, I do adore him. He's very talented and very wonderful, and Loki is such a great character. And so last time we saw him, he'd fallen into the abyss of space when the Bifrost collapsed on Asgard, and, you know, we all thought he died, but nope, not dead. We don't know where he ended up. There's only been kind of hints as to what he kind of went through between the end of Thor and the beginning of Avengers when he appears. Yeah, but you can tell it's something bad happened. I mean, you know, there's that end credit scene in Thor when he sees the Tesseract with Selvig, and he's like, well, I guess that's what it look, and he's all like deathly looking and evil. But in this one, he's just maniacal, and like, I love this version of Loki. He's such a good villain, one of the best villains we've seen in like the last 10 years, I feel. Like, I mean, you know, there's obviously other villains like the Joker, like Heath Ledger's Joker is obviously iconic, and he doesn't really come close, but it's just the dialogue he's given and the way he delivers it is just, it's so good, it's so powerful. He gets to monologue a lot in this movie, and I adore it. Like the whole, I come with glad tidings of a world made free, and Nick Fury's like, free from what? And he's like, freedom. Freedom is life's great lie, and once you accept that in your heart, you will know peace. Love that. Love the whole, I love the speech he gives Nick Fury, when he's like, you know, and for what? A warm light for all mankind to share, and then to be reminded what real power is, and then the whole banter about, you know, he's like, well, Nick Fury's just like, well, let me know when real power wants a magazine, you know, because he's the one in the cage. And then the way him and Scarlett Johansson, Natasha Romanoff play off each other in that scene. She's manipulating him. He's trying to manipulate her, but she wins. But the whole, just the way he talks to her, and then he's like, you know, you lie and kill in the service of liars and killers. Because at that time when he's making that speech, I don't know if Loki's aware, but they're discovering the SHIELD. They haven't been really honest with him. With any of them, you know, so, oh gosh, and it's so just well done. So speaking of that, this is kind of the first time Steve Rogers is like introduced to corrupt organizations. Not that SHIELD was too corrupt, and we all know now that Hydra was secretly working from within the whole time, but this was the first time of like, you know, he's being lied to by people he's supposed to trust and he's working for. So these are like the seeds of what is to come in Winter Soldier and then Civil War. So this is the beginning, I think, of that kind of 3-movie arc, I guess, for Steve. And, you know, his relationship with SHIELD and Hydra. So that's really, really important. Gosh, what else shall I talk about? Oh, one of my favourite parts of the whole movie is from the scene in Germany where Loki's, you know, he's gone to get the scan of the guy's eye by practically murdering him in front of all these people, because that's what he wants. He wants people to, you know, witness him and kneel before him. But from there, and I love that we get Shoot to Thrill, Tony Stark arrives with that song. That was the song used from the start of, there's a loud car, I don't know if you can hear that. Thank you so much. Yeah, Shoot to Thrill was at the start of Iron Man 2, and it's an AC/DC song, so obviously perfect way to introduce Tony Stark / Iron Man into the main story. So that's really well done. And then from there, you know, we get, you know, they end up fighting for a bit. Cap goes up against Loki, and it's amazing. And you know, he's kind of no match for him, toe to toe. Like Loki overpowers him, and it's not until Tony comes in that, you know, he's actually stopped. They capture him, fly away, and then Thor arrives, and I just love it because then we get, you know, the awesome brotherly, you know, discussion between them on the top of that hill, and then the two ravens swoop in. I don't know if you noticed, there's ravens, and those are Odin. That's Odin watching them essentially, because Odin had ravens, and they were like, I guess his messengers, I guess. You know, watching, you know, his eye where he could not be. They were his eyes. And I just love the way Loki just feels so betrayed by Thor, and you know, he's like, you know, all right, fair enough, he thinks he's still rightfully king of Asgard, but then he's like, you know, I was cast out. You know, I seem to remember you casting me down into an abyss, I who was and should be king. And Thor's like, what are these imagined slights? You know, what? You're making shit up. I did not cast you down, you let go. And he did. But because his mind's all warped from what he's been through, he's just not seeing things clearly, and he just, you know, he kind of hates his brother, I guess. Part of him does anyway at this point. But I love that whole scene between them, and it's beautifully acted, beautifully done. And then we get the awesome fight scene. Holy cow. When Thor and Iron Man and Cap face off in a three-way fight. And the epic, probably my favourite line from the whole movie. when when Thor's like, do not touch me again, and then Iron Man's like, then don't take my stuff. And then I can't remember what Thor says after that, but then Tony Stark's like, Shakespeare in the Park, is it? And he goes, doth mother know you weareth her drapes? And I lose my shit every time. It's so funny. Oh my god, it's such a Joss Whedon line, and I just love it. It's so good. And then they proceed to fight, and it's just, it's so fun to watch. It's still fun. The movie is 6 years old, and it still holds up. It's so entertaining. It's so fun. I love it. I adore it. God, and then, you know, yeah, and then Cap comes in, and then Mjolnir meets the vibranium shield for the first time, and just the whole forest kind of goes down, and it's just, yeah, I love that. It's so great. Gosh, what else can I talk about in this movie? Oh, I also think that the whole collapsing of the shield base into the hole is a reference to Buffy and the fate of Sunnydale. I don't know, that's a little thing I think. I'm gonna think that because I love Buffy. God, what else? There's so much to discuss in this film. I just love everything about it. All the characters are so good. I mean, the only shame is obviously Hawkeye is relegated to being Loki's lackey for most of the film. But you know, obviously he gets to shine in the final battle at the end, which is really, really cool. Jeremy Renner does an awesome job in the role of Clint Barton. Love watching him, enjoying him. He's very good, and I love his history with, like, implied history with Natasha, that we, you know, she's obviously very personally personally, you know, upset and worried about him because they clearly have a history, and which we learn about when, you know, when she and Loki are, you know, having their manipulation powwow, which is, yeah, really, really good. Okay, Mark Ruffalo's in this movie, not Edward Norton. That's a big thing I should touch on. Yeah, and it's fine. I mean, obviously it's jarring when you see an actor replace an actor in the same role in the same universe, even though it's a different movie. It can be jarring, and it was, and especially at this point, I actually hadn't seen Incredible Hulk. I didn't watch it before I watched the Avengers, so it didn't really throw me out too much, but watching it now, it's like, okay, it's the same character, it's the same person, but it's played by a different actor, so you just have to kind of let it slide, you know, whatever, it's fine. I mean, you know, we get a reference to the events of Incredible Hulk when, you know, when Banner says, you know, last time I was in New York, I kind of broke Harlem, because, you know, that's what happened when he fought the Abomination. And then, you know, kind of seeing where Bruce is at with his journey and dealing with his anger and how to control that and get a proper handle on it. And he hasn't had an incident for a long time by the time we meet him. It's only through Loki's manipulation and then, you know, Hawkeye attacking the helicarrier do we get to see Hulk for the first time. And that's pretty well handled. I think it was really, really cool. So he's a welcome addition. Him and Robert Downey Jr. also have a really good chemistry on screen together, being the science bros. Woo! So I love them as well. Very, very, very good. Okay, and then we should talk about Phil Coulson, because Coulson is one of the big reasons that kind of these movies were able to connect and mesh. There's like a universe, a shared universe, the first of its kind, really. Was Agent Coulson, and just the fact that he was killed off was, you know, I mean, it doesn't matter now, they retconned that, didn't they? But, it's good. I mean, it had to happen, story-wise. The movie would kind of, I mean, the movie would be fine. I'm sure they would have worked out another way if they were like, let's keep him alive. But I like the way the story went, even though we, you know, had to deal with him dying, because it was pretty sad at the time. It doesn't make me sad anymore, because I know he's, you know, they just brought him back to life anyway. And, you know, there's 5 seasons of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. you can watch, which you should, because it's awesome. So knowing that kind of you know, it does ruin the moment. And that's why they, like Joss Whedon has said, like, no plans to bring Coulson back into the theatrical MCU, because it would take away from the weight of his loss. But most of us know he's still alive anyway, so I feel like just do it. Just put him in a movie. If he's not in Infinity War, I'm gonna cry. It's gonna be sad. But his death at the hands of Loki was, it was hard to watch. Even though, like, I didn't get so upset, but it is still hard, because it's like, it's Phil, it's Coulson, he's so great. But their reaction to his loss, and, you know, we get the end of the 3-beat with the cards, you know, we get his, you know, Black Widow's talking to Steve Rogers on the helicarrier about, you know, his Captain America trading cards that he wants signed, and then next time we hear about it, he's talking to Steve on the bridge of the helicarrier, saying, you know, they're a vintage set near mint. And then the last time we see the cards is after Phil's died, and Nick Fury used them to kind of give them an extra push into going off to rejoin together, because, you know, Loki kind of tore them apart. And he was the first person to successfully do so. Speaking of being torn apart, Iron Man and Captain America didn't always get along from the get-go. I hope you notice. I'm not sure how it is in the comics between the two of them, but there's tension there. Even like on the Quinjet on the way back to take, you know, they've captured Loki. They're taking him back to the helicarrier. You know, there's the tension because they disagree about what they should do when Thor arrives. Like Cap's just like, no, we need to regroup, we need to think about what we're going to do here, and Tony Stark's like, nah, screw that, I'm doing my thing, I'm going after him the way I know how. And it worked out in the end fine, but still there was that, you know, there was that kind of mild conflict. And then when Loki's manipulating them, and they all start fighting against each other, it's Tony and Steve, face to face, head to head, just giving it to each other, like verbally just abusing each other, like, you know. And then we get the really cool, you know, it's like, you know, take the suit off, what are you? Genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist. Thank you very much. Good line. I like that line. It's great. So that's really, really good. But that's obviously something that's, the tension starts there, and then it just, you know, in Age of Ultron, then we get the scene of them at Clint's farm when they're kind of arguing a bit, and it's like, oh god. And then, you know, obviously after that, Civil War, and then now we don't even know where they stand, and I guess we'll have to wait till Infinity War to find out. Okay, let's see if there's anything I can talk about. Okay, I feel like I should talk about the Battle of New York briefly before we wrap up. This was the event that changed everything in the MCU. Nothing was the same after this happened at all. Everything was different, everything changed. Because this is the one thing that's been referenced in everything. In Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it's referenced in all of the Netflix shows. They call it The Incident or whatever. It's huge. And then, you know, and then it has lasting impact on, you know, in the movies themselves. You know, Iron Man 3, which we'll talk about next. We've got, you know, Tony Stark with his PTSD from the event. And then Spider-Man Homecoming, the Chitauri weaponry that Vulture uses, you know, and wants to just, you know, do his own thing with. Like, that's all from this and everything. And yeah, so it's a huge turning point for the MCU. So gosh, what else can I mention? Just having a look at my notes. If you see me looking down these videos, I'm looking at my notes because I want to make sure I cover everything I want to cover. Tony Stark has some character growth in this movie too, which is good. Probably the most character growth out of all the characters in the film, because, you know, he kind of starts off as still that Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2 kind of character, even though he has grown from when we first met him. But in this movie, he's still that kind of reckless kind of guy. Excuse me, because that's kind of who he is. But then, and you know, and Steve calls him out. He's like, "You're not the guy. I've seen the footage. You're not the guy to make the sacrifice play." And then, by the time we get to the end of the film, that's exactly what he does. He's just like, "No, this is it. This is me. I'm here. I've got to do this. Literally, no one else can do this. I'm gonna die." And he just, you know, I don't think he accepts it, but he's like, "Okay, well, it's me or millions of people." So, and then he, you know, risks his life taking the nuke up through the portal before it gets closed, but then luckily, you know, he survives. But that growth from, you know, selfishness, sort of, to this very much being part of a team and not working just for himself, and realizing what that means and what he has to do when he's called upon to do it. So, yeah, that's really, really well done, really well communicated. Okay, Stan Lee cameo right at the end of the film. Yeah, just, you know, the little... this is a nice one because he's just in the montage of news footage after the Battle of New York, and he's just like, "Superheroes in New York? Give me a break." Turns back to playing his chess game. So, that's Stan. That's little Stan's appearance in this one. And then this one is really... okay, interesting. We have, for the first time, let's count them, 2 post-credit scenes. The first one, of course, being the most important. So after the main title credits end, we get a flash to Thanos' sanctuary, where, you know, he kind of lives, I guess, kind of sits on his chair. And we get more voiceover from the Other, which is kind of his, you know, right-hand man, I guess. His little minion that does all his bidding for him. And, you know, he's basically just telling Thanos, you know, well, Loki didn't bring us the Tesseract, and looks like Earth is, like, just a place we probably can't mess with yet, you know, or maybe we shouldn't. And then, you know, and then I like the fact that we get a little line where he's like, to challenge them is to court death, which a lot of people have interpreted as a reference to the personification of death, which was in the comics. And one of the reasons Thanos decided, I'm gonna get the Infinity Stones because I want to impress Death because I love her. So there's no knowledge yet as to whether or not that's going to be a canonical MCU thing, that we're going to get Death. Some people think that Hela will be Death, but she kind of looks dead, so spoilers. So we don't know yet, but I like that little line because it could go to either way. Like, it's like to court death would be like, well, they'd screw themselves over if they went after the Avengers, but it could also mean person, the lady death. And then, you know, we get him turning to the camera and grinning. And that is the first ever footage of Thanos in the MCU, which is really exciting and terrifying, and yeah, it's like, oh my god, we not only do we get an Avengers movie, we get a reference to Thanos. We actually get to see Thanos in this movie. Yeah, that's when I think that was probably the moment for everyone where we knew these movies aren't going away. There's a big plan here. We've seen the Tesseract. We know it's an Infinity Stone. I mean, we don't know in the MCU that it's an Infinity Stone. The phrase Infinity Stone is still not being uttered. But we know it's, you know, for those of us who do our research, we know what that is. And with the appearance of Thanos and the mentioning of death, these are the seeds for where we are now being laid. So, yeah, super exciting. Really, really cool. And then the last end credit scene is just hysterical. And it was filmed because it was inspired by a dinner from a rap on an episode of Angel. And I heard this from Amy Acker herself at Supernova in Melbourne one year. She talked about it and said that basically Joss took the shawarma scene at the end where they're all just sitting around, just exhausted and not wanting to eat, and then Thor was just like, give me the shawarma, it's yummy. She said it was inspired by a scene when they filmed the episode where her character was killed off, and it was just so emotionally draining and devastating that when they were done and they wrapped and they went out for dinner, they were just sitting there like, you know, they had nothing in them. They had nothing left to give. So they just sat there and just in silence and ate their food and just whatever. So that's where that comes from, the shawarma scene. And the fact that, you know, yeah, that Tony was like, I nearly died, but let's get shawarma. Let's get shawarma. It's fun. Something I need to try. Okay, so I think that's probably going to be it for my Avengers Infinity War discussion. No, I didn't keep it under 25 minutes. Sorry, guys, nearly half an hour. Sorry. It's a really good movie, I can't help it. It's still, to this day, my favourite MCU movie, so I want to say it's all downhill from here for me, but it's kind of not, because there's some really good movies on the horizon. Starting with Iron Man 3, so when we come back next episode, we're going to be talking about Iron Man 3, the conclusion of his trilogy. That's exciting, so stay with me. Thank you for watching so far. I hope you enjoy it. I've been a Kendall Richardson, and you've just experienced non-scripted ramblings.